far beyond the familiar stars of human space, where silence hung thick and the cold vacuum seemed endless, there was a fragile balance that held the galaxy together. This fragile peace was shared uneasily between the humans and the alien race, known as the Confederation of Zalthar, the Zal. Tar were a proud and advanced people with ships that could cross light years in days and weapons that could tear apart mountains from space. They were also hungry for power, always seeking new worlds to claim and new technologies to master. Despite their superiority in many ways, the Zalthar viewed humanity with a mixture of disdain and caution. To them, humans were wildcards, unpredictable and reckless, yet surprisingly resilient. Many Zalthar leaders whispered that humans were primitive, that their technology lagged behind, and that their strength came from stubbornness rather than skill. But even among their doubts, the Zalthar had to admit that humans had survived countless threats that would have destroyed less stubborn species. The uneasy peace that stretched across the border between their territories was born not from trust, but from mutual respect for each other's potential to cause great damage. It was during this tense time that rumors began to spread among the space stations and outposts near the border, whispers of a new human warship, unlike anything anyone had seen before. This ship was said to possess technology that bent the very laws of physics, making it appear and disappear in the blink of an eye. It was called the Quantum-Locked Warship, a name that inspired both fear and awe. Scientists debated how such a ship could exist, and military commanders grew restless, knowing that any real advantage could change the delicate balance of power. Among those watching this situation closely was Commander Elena Royce, captain of the Valor, one of humanity's most trusted and battle-tested starships. Elena was known for her calm under pressure and her ability to make decisions that balanced courage with caution. When her orders came to investigate strange quantum disturbances near the Zalthar border, she knew this mission would be unlike any she had faced before. The Valor was dispatched with a clear directive: find the source of these unusual signals and report back immediately. No one wanted war, but everyone knew that the galaxy was a place where peace could be shattered in an instant. As the Valor moved closer to the border, Elena and her crew began to notice subtle changes in the space around them. Sensors picked up faint ripples in the fabric of space-time, as if something was twisting reality itself. The stars seemed to shimmer strangely, and the usual hum of the ship's systems felt different, as though the ship was moving through a place where the rules were not quite the same. The crew worked tirelessly to analyze the data, running simulations and checking their instruments again and again. The mystery grew deeper with every passing hour. What was this phenomenon? Was it natural? Or was it a sign of new technology? Lena's thoughts often drifted to the stories she had heard of the quantum-locked warship. Was it real? Could humans have built such a marvel? So, why had it remained hidden for so long? The tension aboard the Valor was palpable. The crew was eager but wary, knowing that any contact with the Zalthar fleet could spark a conflict neither side wanted. Yet, there was an unspoken hope that this mission might reveal a chance for peace, or at least a way to avoid a devastating war. Meanwhile, on the Zalthar side, their commanders were equally restless. The rumors of the human quantum warship had reached their ears, and many were afraid. The quantum-locked ship, if it truly existed, could bypass their defenses, strike anywhere, and vanish without warning. Such power could make the mighty Zalthar vulnerable in a way they had never imagined. The political leaders argued fiercely about how to respond. Some called for preemptive strikes to eliminate the threat before it grew, while others urged caution, hoping diplomacy might still save them. As Elena's Valor drew closer to the source of the quantum disturbances, the tension reached a breaking point. Both humans and Zalthar were on edge, waiting for the first sign of what this new era might bring. Then, in the silence of space, a sudden flash appeared on the Valor's sensors, an enormous ship materializing out of nowhere, its hull glowing faintly with an energy that seemed to warp the stars around it. The quantum-locked warship had arrived. Elena stared at the view screen, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and awe. This was the moment the galaxy had been waiting for. The balance of power was about to shift, and what happened next would decide the future of humans, aliens, and the countless worlds caught between them as the Valar drew closer to the coordinates given by their sensors. The tension aboard the ship grew heavier with every passing moment. The space around them felt strange, almost alive, as if the very fabric of reality was being stretched and twisted. Commander Alina Royce stood at the bridge, her eyes fixed on the view screen, waiting for the moment when they would finally discover what was causing the mysterious quantum disturbances. Suddenly, the sensors blared a warning, alerting the crew to an enormous presence ahead. On the screen, a ship appeared, unlike anything the humans had ever seen before. It shimmered and pulsed with an ethereal light, a glowing veil of energy that seemed to ripple and flow around its sleek, angular hull. The ship looked as if it existed partially in another dimension, a ghostly form that flickered in and out. Of visibility, the crew held their breath as the image grew clearer. This was the Aegis, the legendary human warship whispered about in secret for years. What made the Aegis extraordinary was not just its size or design, but the quantum field enveloping it. Scientists aboard the Valar quickly began analyzing the data. Their screens filled with streams of numbers and graphs showing strange distortions in time and space. The quantum field appeared to bend reality itself, allowing the ship to vanish from one spot and reappear instantly in another. This quantum lock was unlike anything known in the galaxy. It was a technology that made the ship effectively untouchable. It could slip through enemy defenses, strike with precision, and then vanish before any counterattack could be launched. To the Zalthar, who relied on powerful fleets and overwhelming force, this was a nightmare. Their commanders watched in disbelief as their fleet scrambled to respond. Ships shifted into battle formations, their weapons powering up, but there was uncertainty in their movements. Could they fight something they could neither predict nor track? The Aegis's ability to appear anywhere at any time made traditional tactics useless. On board the Valar, scientists debated the origin and purpose of the Aegis. It was clear that this ship was built by humans, but the level of technology was beyond the current official records. Had there been a secret human project hidden deep in space, developing this quantum technology away from prying eyes? Theories swirled about who commanded the Aegis and what their true mission was. Commander Royce understood the importance of careful communication. Any sudden move could trigger a war no one wanted. She ordered the crew to keep a close watch, gather all information, and prepare for any possible outcome. The atmosphere on the Valar shifted from curiosity to alert readiness. Meanwhile, the Aegis began to move. It did not rush forward with the roar of engines or the flash of weapons, but instead slipped smoothly and silently through the void. Each time it appeared, it was in a new position, sometimes near the Zalthar command ship, sometimes far behind their lines, testing their defenses without firing a single shot. The Zalthar fleet found themselves chasing a shadow, unable to predict where the Aegis would strike next. On the bridge of the Zalthar flagship, the commander's face was pale with tension. This new human warship changed everything. It was not just a weapon. It was a symbol of unknown power and unpredictability that challenged the Zalthar's confidence and control. Plans for attack were quickly replaced by urgent calls for reinforcements and secret consultations among the Zalthar leaders. Rumors spread through their ranks. Some believed the humans had made a leap in technology that could end the war before it even began. Others feared the Aegis was a test of will, a message that humans would no longer be pushed around or controlled. Back on the Valar, Alina knew they were witnessing the birth of a new kind of warfare. This was not a battle of brute force, but a game of shadows and light, where the very nature of reality could be weaponized. The crew remained focused, their training pushed to the limit as they prepared for whatever came next. They were no longer just explorers or defenders. They were part of a moment that could change the galaxy's future forever. The Aegis, cloaked in its quantum glow, moved with silent precision. It was a ghost ship, a guardian, and a warning all at once. No one knew where it would appear next, or what it would do when it did. As the Valar kept its distance, watching, learning, and waiting, the first true test of the quantum-locked warships, power was about to begin. The galaxy held its breath, without warning. The Aegis blinked into existence directly in front of the massive Zalthar flagship, blocking its path like a wall made of light and energy. The sudden appearance sent shockwaves through the Zalthar fleet, causing immediate confusion and panic among the alien ranks. For the first time, the proud and powerful Zalthar found themselves completely trapped, unable to move forward or retreat. Their escape routes vanished as the Aegis held them in place with its strange quantum field, locking them in a position where no attack could reach them without risking destruction. On the bridge of the Zalthar command ship, the commander's eyes widened with disbelief and growing fear. He ordered all weapon systems to prepare for battle, but even his most experienced officers hesitated, sensing that brute force might not be the answer this time. As the standoff held tight, a sudden signal interrupted the tense silence. The Aegis opened communication channels. The voice that came through was calm, steady, and unmistakably human. Captain Alina Royce's voice echoed across the void, addressing the Zalthar commander directly. The commander demanded to know how humans had developed such overwhelming power. Demanding answers for the sudden leap in technology that had stunned their entire fleet, Alina, equally surprised, shared the truth she had only recently learned herself. The Aegis was not the product of Earth's known space programs, but was built in secret by a deep space human colony, isolated from the rest of humanity and focused on creating a weapon unlike any other. However, the purpose of this weapon was not destruction but deterrence. It was designed to prevent war, not start it. It was meant to show that humans could protect themselves from any threat and that no aggression would go unanswered. As the conversation unfolded, the Zalthar commander struggled to process this revelation. The warship before him was a symbol of a new kind of power, one that could stop any conflict before it began by removing the possibility of attack entirely. It was a force of peace through strength, an idea both alien and fascinating to the Zalthar leaders. Slowly, the tension in the alien fleet began to ease. Weapons were lowered, and the once aggressive posture of the Zalthar transformed into cautious respect. The commander proposed negotiations, signaling a willingness to discuss peace rather than continue a battle they might never win. Alina and her crew watched carefully as the first steps toward dialogue were taken. The galaxy, once filled with fear and uncertainty, now had a chance for hope. The Aegis remained in place, a guardian and a reminder that the future could be shaped by understanding, not war. This moment marked the beginning of a new chapter for humans and aliens alike, where technology and diplomacy combined to prevent destruction and build a lasting peace. The tension in the vast space station orbiting the neutral planet was almost unbearable as human and Zalthar representatives gathered around the Great Table for the first official talks in decades. Both sides had come with heavy hearts, unsure if these discussions would lead to peace or simply buy time for the next conflict. Captain Alina Royce, representing humanity, stood firm and calm, knowing that the fate of countless lives rested on what she said next. The Zalthar delegates, tall and imposing with eyes that seemed to pierce through the walls, listened carefully as humans began to explain the true purpose of the Aegis, the warship that had frozen their fleet in space without firing a shot. Alina spoke clearly about how the Aegis was not a weapon of conquest, but a shield of defense, created to protect humanity from destruction and to prevent war before it could start. She described the incredible quantum technology that made the ship possible, a technology that could trap enemy fleets in a state of suspended time, holding them still without causing harm or loss of life. The ability to lock hostile forces in stasis meant that conflicts could be stopped instantly, and negotiations could begin without bloodshed or fear. This revelation stunned the Zalthar representatives. For years, their society had been built on strength and expansion. But here was proof that a different path was possible, one where power was measured not by how many planets were conquered, but by how many lives were saved. Slowly, questions turned to understanding, and understanding to respect. The Zalthar began to see the Aegis not as a threat to their existence, but as a symbol of what could be achieved when fear was replaced by responsibility. The talks stretched on 4 hours, with both sides laying out concerns, hopes, and demands. There were moments of disagreement and frustration, but beneath it all, a fragile trust began to grow. When the Zalthar leaders finally agreed to a treaty, It was clear that something greater than fear had brought them to this moment. The treaty promised to respect human sovereignty and recognize the right of humanity to defend itself with its advanced technology. In return, humans agreed to share certain knowledge and work with the Zalthar to maintain peace and security throughout the galaxy. The signing ceremony was quiet but powerful. Cameras from countless worlds broadcast the event, and for the first time, humans and Zalthar stood side by side as partners rather than enemies. The once distant and mysterious Aegis became a beacon of hope, its shimmering quantum field. Reminder that even the greatest powers could choose peace over war? As the talks concluded, Captain Royce looked around the room, seeing faces both human and alien, all changed by the experience. She felt a deep sense of pride, not just in the technology humanity had created, but in the courage it took to use that technology for peace. The galaxy was still dangerous and uncertain, but this new alliance offered a path forward, one where trust and cooperation could grow stronger with each passing day. It was the beginning of a new era, one where enemies could become allies, and where the future was shaped by hope, not fear. With the treaty between humanity and the Zalthar firmly signed and sealed, a wave of cautious optimism swept across the galaxy, signaling the start of a new era where two very different civilizations began to learn from one another rather than fight. Space stations and research facilities, once isolated and secretive, now opened their doors to joint teams of human and Zalthar scientists who eagerly exchanged knowledge about technology, culture, and history. The Aegis, once a mysterious and almost mythical warship, is now a powerful symbol of hope and deterrence, representing the idea that strength did not have to come from destruction but from innovation and the will to protect life. Its quantum lock, technology capable of freezing hostile fleets in place without harming a single soul, inspired engineers and thinkers across multiple worlds to explore new ways of resolving conflict peacefully. In many ways, the Aegis was more than just a ship. It was a beacon that showed the galaxy a new way forward. Captain Alina Royce, who had witnessed the rise of this incredible alliance firsthand, often found herself reflecting quietly on the events that had unfolded. From the uneasy beginnings near the border to the tense negotiations and the signing of the treaty, she saw clearly how humanity's determination to use its strengths wisely had changed history. It was not just the advanced technology that mattered, but the choice to use that technology to build trust and foster understanding. Alina understood that real power came not from conquest or domination, but from unity. Across both human and Zalthar worlds, citizens began to see one another not as enemies, but as partners in a vast and complex galaxy. Cultural exchanges flourished, tourists, diplomats, and scholars traveled between planets, sharing stories and traditions that deepened the bonds formed in the wake of peace. Trade routes reopened, bringing goods and ideas that enriched both societies. Children of both species learned each other's languages and histories, planting seeds of friendship that would grow for generations. Yet despite these hopeful changes, the galaxy remained a place of challenges. New threats emerged from distant regions, and old rivalries simmered beneath the surface. The alliance between humans and Zalthar had to stay vigilant, using the lessons learned from the Aegis's unique technology and the spirit of cooperation. It's inspired to face whatever dangers came next. Through it all, Captain Royce and her crew continued to serve as guardians of this fragile peace, ready to act with both strength and wisdom. The Aegis itself was often seen patrolling the borders where tension once threatened to ignite, a quiet reminder to all that peace was worth defending. As she looked up at the stars each night, Alina felt a deep sense of fulfillment and hope. Humanity's journey had been difficult and uncertain, but by choosing to embrace peace and understanding, they had shown the galaxy that even in the darkest times, light could shine through. This new dawn was not just a moment in history, it was a promise that the future could be better, built on the foundations of trust, respect, the shared desire for harmony among the stars.